This is the Pete Wong Podcast, sharing the things that I love with those that I love. I've always wanted to talk about the things that I care about in life. People have told me time after time, why don't you just share more of you? And with that, let's go.
What's up, everybody? Pete Wong here, back with another episode of the Pete Wong Podcast. How is everyone doing out there in the world? I really hope everyone is taking the most safety precautions that you can at the moment. We need to all really be respectful, be very mindful of each other more than ever. As we're all hearing, the cases are rising in certain areas, but that was expected. Take whatever precautions necessary, and let's keep it up. All right, everyone, let's just keep it up and just really think about what we can do to respect each other, and more than ever, what can we do to look out for one another. I do hope that those of you that get into the holiday, Christmas, the holiday seasons, those of you that enjoy it, and even those of you that don't normally enjoy it, hopefully you'll find joy and the spirit this year. I myself, I think it's a little challenging because I think so much has changed, so much is different. But I'm trying to put myself in a space where I feel like I can fully still embrace the love, the joy, and even though it looks different, to just hold space for myself that I can continue to enjoy it, and also the people that are in my life. What can I do for them? And because I know a lot of people in my life, they're really into the holidays, and I don't want to be that Grinch that ruins it for everybody. I'm trying to get myself in that space a little bit more, but it's been tough. I don't listen to the holiday music like I have been the previous years, and But this morning I heard a song and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to that. And I know we're not even midway yet, but it just feels different. Just want to put that out there. The other thing is, thanks to everyone who commented on the previous episode, the flood in the apartment. Everything is fine. Actually, that incident was a while back, so it got cleaned up and taken care of. The washer is still not fixed, but that's it's an issue with where we live, but it's all being taken care of. But thank you, everyone, and I'm really glad to hear that the episode helped some of you out there. The practice, the training that we can do for those instances in our lives that just, they seem so overwhelming. And I'm just really glad that people have reached out to me and let me know how that episode and other episodes have helped them, because that's the whole point of me doing this. On that note, there's something that's been on my mind this past week, and been having conversations in different spaces and different circles and different formats. But this whole thing about how people are taking care of themselves, but also how people are sustaining their relationships and connection in the current times that we're in. I was on the phone the other night with a friend of mine, and I won't name names because just out of respect. We were talking, and this is a friend that we probably talk maybe once a month, if not, maybe a little less frequent. But he and I think, do a really good job of staying connected, even if it's once in a while. One of the things that he said to me really struck a chord for me. And what he said to me was, before COVID, he felt alone at times, but since the pandemic and since being having to be in quarantine, he truly realized how more alone he feels, and it really just kind of sat with me because I can only imagine what the people out there, even some of you listeners, might be feeling at times. Some of us feel. I was looking this up and I was trying to gauge the difference. The word alone and the word lonely. And so I'm sure, those of you out there listening right now, I'm sure you've probably had this conversation at one point, the differences, the similarities. And I guess it just made me think of those of us that are choosing to be alone, those of us that have to be alone, and how that's affecting some of us because we're not able to go out like we're used to. Like most of our lives, we're used to just, interacting with people, connecting with people, even if it's random people. We're living in a world now where we have to be very selective, more out of necessity, more out of safety. But I think what comes with that, though, is this opportunity for looking at things in a different way. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but I just wanted to go off just what my buddy shared with me. I did a talk with a school. Shouts out to Community of Peace Academy in St. Paul. Thank you for the opportunity for speaking to your 7th graders. If you're one of the students that was part of that group, please, I just want to say, thank you. And thank you for the faculty and the staff for inviting me to talk in the Zoom call for that morning, and just sharing my thoughts and my advice, words of encouragement for being uncomfortable, for having to deal with the things that they're dealing with, and to my best knowledge, to my best ability. One of the things that was brought up to my attention is that right now there's more cases. There's a lot. I heard there's a statistic here that there's depression, 1 out of 3, but I wish I knew what that 1 out of 3 is. So I think I have my information wrong, and I don't want to put information out there that doesn't have the correct source. But I think the main thing is that many of us are dealing with depression. Many of us are dealing with days of highs and lows. And so a big part of what I do is in my life, but also with the podcast and with my coaching, is what can I do? What can we do to ground ourselves, to find the necessary ingredients to find, I want to say balance, but find that thing that you need in life, so things don't seem depressing, or things don't feel super down all the time. And at the same time, I do want to say that I don't think that life is always about being happy, joy. I understand in my 41-year-old lifespan that being sad, being angry, being upset, being worried. All these things are human emotions, and more than ever, I now realize that we have to, what I like to say, feel what we feel. Whatever emotion you're feeling, we need to be all right feeling that, because as a human being, we need to feel it in order to change it. If we run away from it, if we ignore it, if we cover it up, we never truly fully address it. In my training, it's my body doesn't lie to me. My body may try to lie to me, but it doesn't do a very good job. So everything that I've been doing to change my lifestyle is all about so my body can heal, so my mind can be more relaxed, and I do find joy, because I find joy even in sadness, even in those moments of worry. I find joy because that's the practice, that's the training I've been doing. I want to talk about these feelings that people might be having out there. And I think part of that is how we're communicating with each other, how we're having to adapt and having to learn how to communicate each other in this current time. But also, I want to change the wording, because people are always saying this, the current times that we're in. Well, if you're somebody who lives moment to moment, practices moment to moment daily, the current time is right now. So to me, it's how do we adapt to the given situation so I can move forward as I would want to, versus how do I adapt and then revert back to the way I used to was. No, it's how am I going to adapt and continue to grow? So there was this article that was actually my sister shared with me on the Washington Post, and it was talking about men in particularly, and how because of the pandemic, how men don't have that space like they normally do. So I took down some of the notes. I'm not going to be quoting anything particularly, but just for example, no game days. For like my experience, there was no gym, there was no, back in California, I was training with a group of martial artists. Shouts out to Fight Club, shouts out to Lab Rats, shouts out to Bloodline Hybrid Boxing, my brothers, my sisters. Places like gyms where people daily get that that training in that helps them. That helps their self-care, that helps their energy and exercise and fitness. No bars are open, so people are not able to socialize in the way that we're accustomed to. And these are just some examples, but I thought that was pretty important to recognize that how we're normally socializing, how we're normally going through our days, it's not the same. And even my buddy that I was talking to, he mentioned playing video games, with his friends online and that kind of stuff. But like the article said, and I am being generalizing here, and and I'm only speaking from the experiences and the article that I read, but it was saying that for men it's difficult. They're finding spaces difficult to talk because it's a thing. It's known that men don't have spaces to express their feelings. And again, I'm not saying all men. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of information, a lot of sharing that men don't have spaces like this. That's why a month ago or a while back, my mentor and I, Orpheus Black, did a specifically episode on relating, sustaining genuine relationships with between men, and I'll put a link up, somewhere for that. I just want to hit on some of these things because it's real, and it's been on my heart, it's been on my mind. The fact that, especially for men, the places that we normally gather to express ourselves, to however that is, it's not around anymore. And so what are the kind of things that we're doing, and how are we doing mentally? And again, I'm not just speaking to men, I'm also speaking to women. I'm speaking to everybody, anyone who's listening. We're finding ourselves in situations that we're not accustomed to. And I'm sure that for many of us, it's affecting us daily, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the different ways. And so I just wanted to dedicate this episode talking about it and just raising that issue and just reminding everyone that you're not alone, that in this current time, I love this word that we've been tossing around in the different sessions and groups that I've been hosting and hosting, grace. It's a lovely word. It's also the name of my mother, which is beautiful. We need to hold grace for ourselves, and we need to hold grace for each other, because people are adapting, people are adjusting. And I'm totally guilty of, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, not doing a good job of recognizing that somebody's in a situation that I'm not familiar with, or I'm not empathizing enough with. My question that I want to put out there for you listeners out there is, number one, how are you communicating? And number two, how are you being communicated? Are you the person that's reaching out to people and checking in with them? Are you the one that's having to find different outlets to fulfill your needs? As part of that, how are people responding? Are people getting back to you? Are people in the same headspace as you, where they do want to talk to you at that moment, at that time when you contact them? Are you feeling ghosted? For those of you that don't know that term, that's a term that means you reach out to somebody and then they don't get back to you. They vanish like a ghost. There are moments where we may have somebody in our mind that we want to reach out to, and then we may or may not make the choice to contact them. We may or may not send a text. We may or may not do a phone call. We may or may not do a video chat. They may or may not last long. They may or may not even happen. And so I think it's important to recognize that all of it is okay. There is no right or wrong. There is no this way or that way. It's however it is. But my own belief is that it's still not an excuse. You still need to have your needs met. If you need to talk to somebody, you deserve to have that person or persons to talk to. So that's part of my second question. How are you being communicated? Are people reaching out to you? Are people including you? And if they're not, then I think that's where you have to just recognize for yourself, what is it that you need? So all of this goes back to the thing that I am, all the time pushing out and all the time I am posting about, which is self-care. What are the things that you're doing to take care of yourself? Because we may choose to be alone, and some of us may or may not feel lonely. But we have to all take care of ourselves. Part of that, yes, is reaching out to others, is keeping the communication alive, keeping the relationships alive. In my own example, I've noticed that in the beginning of the pandemic, I was grateful for the relationships that I had because I was able to talk to people, and I had people reaching out to me, and then I would do my best to reach out to other people. But I remember there was one art therapy session that my sister invited me to, and I remember beforehand thinking, I don't know if I want to be in that space because people, they're going to be talking about COVID, they're going to be talking about the pandemic and this and that things, it's like kind of like a broken record, as they say. But then I decided to give it a shot, just say yes. And I think particularly because I didn't have a whole lot else going on and I thought it might keep me busy. So I went in that group, and it was really cool because what it was using Zoom. People were in different parts of the world, and we were doing art. We were creating art together. Like I think I did a drawing and with Sharpie pencil like I do, and then markers. What I found very fascinating and very helpful, and it changed my perspective, was people were sharing about the pandemic. But at that moment when they were sharing, something inside me switched. And that was, I realized that sometimes you're in a space, or you're in a phone call, or you're in a dialogue, or you're doing something with a group of people, or one or two people, or whatever. And it's not about you. It's about that person needed you, another human being in that space, because maybe they haven't been having that. And so ever since that day, I hold a ton of grace for others' situation. I don't always do the best, but that was a great moment that really made an impact on me. Because now when I'm in a space, I just listen and I just allow that person to share. And I've noticed how powerful that is. I've noticed that that's what I can do, is just be there for another person as they share. And that is such an important, not gift, not talent, practice that I think we can all practice and do more to get better at each time. So going back to the Washington Post article, it mentioned that for men, and again, I'm speaking also for anybody, not just men, but the article is specifically for men. Many people are feeling that they don't have a lot of friends. They don't have a lot of genuine relationship connections, spaces where they can talk about how they feel, things like relationships, talk about family, talk about any problems that they might be having, or be provided solutions, or like I was just talking about, someone to listen to, someone to kind of talk out loud about the current situation that they're in. I think because our bodies, our minds, our daily activity, our routines are all being adjusted, many of us feel overwhelmed at times. Many of us feel unsure of what's happening, what to do, what steps to do. And so I definitely agree and support that. Part of that therapy, or part of that human development connection and self-care, is talking to someone. If many of us don't feel like we have spaces that we can do that, that can be a problem. So I don't want to just have this episode and just, throw out all this, stuff at you without some key points that I would love to leave with you. And this is based on my own work, but also the work that I'm doing in my circles and sessions. And so I want to leave you with just two things. Ritual. Every Sunday, I meet with my family. We have family members in different states, and we've been doing this since the pandemic started. And in the beginning, it was challenging because it was like, do we have to do this all the time? From my perspective, there was that voice like, oh, do we have to do this all the time? But then eventually, it became such a routine, aka more of a ritual, where we knew at this time we're going to meet up, and on this date. And what ended up happening is that our family became even more transparent than we ever have been. And I realized that, again, sometimes it's not about me. Sometimes it's about just showing up for them and just being in that space to hear how their week went. So I want to encourage all of you, if you can make spaces like that, if you can make however you got to do it, over the phone, over the computer. Again, some people out there don't have access to computers, don't have access to Zoom, don't have access to internet. The older people, seniors, they don't. I'm generalizing again, but they may not have access to how to utilize the technology. So, what can we do? How can we problem solve? How can we still help each other fulfill our needs? And so one thing that I'm encouraging people in our sessions is to create more ritual. So then our minds don't have to think about it. I create ritual every day with my exercise, my whether it's martial arts or HIIT, or before weight training, or yoga, meditation. I do that because I just want it to be a part of me. I don't want to have to think so much about it, because in this world right now, my body, my mind is adjusting to the way my life is. And because I've become a positive person, I'm looking at the positive side of things always. So that's one thing, is look for ways we can create more ritual. And my my coach, my mentor, best friend, Orpheus Blackwood, have so much more to say regarding ritual. So reach out to him if you're interested. He has so many fascinating things to talk about that, to share about that, and examples. Being around him is where I learned the significance behind ritual. So thank you, Orpheus, and thank you to the family. Second thing, recognize what you need and go get it. No matter what's happening, we still have needs. So if you don't know where to get it, ask. If you don't know how to get it, ask. Times like this, we cannot be afraid. We cannot be feel shameful for asking. Go get it and enjoy your life. Sorry, I know how important that is. So if you are reaching out to people and they're not getting back to you, then maybe that's not the right timing space for you. Maybe you need to look elsewhere because somebody out there will connect to you. But you just got to keep trying. It's really cool how people are adjusting, people are adapting. That article was also talking about that people are doing poker nights on Zoom. People are doing Dungeons and Dragons, game nights. There are ways of doing things. If we just allow ourselves to be open to adapt to new ways of doing it. But the only way we can do that is if we allow space for ourselves to go, okay, I'm not quite sure how this works, but let's give it a shot. And just be very open to something new. Because that thing that we used to know, it's not there anymore. And we have to give ourselves grace that it's not. And that's okay. Because growth is upon us. Okay, last thing. I'm going to go. It's a almost 40-minute recording session. I think this is just a relevant topic, and it was on my heart, it's on my mind, and that's why I wanted to share it. The last thing I want to leave you with is this quote. And it's not word for word, but it's something that has stuck with me, and I've always remembered it. A friend of mine, many years ago, when I was first learning about entrepreneurs, he shared with me, and I forgot where he got it, but he shared with me this thing about the lunch table. So you remember when you're a kid or a teenager and you're in the cafeteria lunch table at school, those of you that can relate, and you want to sit at the table with a certain group, whoever it is that you were drawn to, you want to sit next to them, but maybe they never invited you. Maybe they don't like you as an entrepreneur. But I think this can be very helpful at times like this, right now, is if you're not being invited to a certain table with a certain group or with anybody, then it's okay. You don't need to not like that person. You don't need to have distaste or anger or resentment towards that table, that person. Instead, be empowered, feel empowered for creating your own table and inviting others to it. By doing that, you fulfill your needs as well as create opportunities for others to join. I don't want to say create a table and sit there by yourself forever. I don't mean that at all. What I mean is, in life, we don't need to wait for others' approval. We don't need to expect something from others. But we do need to take care of ourselves and fulfill what we need. But a big part of that, right, is that self-care and taking the time to recognize, who am I? What do I need? And then how am I going to go get it? That was a lot. I have no apologies because I think this is an awesome topic, and I'm grateful for my friend for being so transparent and vulnerable, telling me his situation. And that's what I'm grateful for, that friendship, as well as the people in my group that have been sharing with me, and my friends that have been sharing with me as well. The highs and lows, the ups and downs. Get ready. Before the year ends, I'm going to be doing an awesome interview with someone that is incredibly special to me. In a short amount of time, I've known her, and just looking forward to that. So we'll be back in the Daijo Media studio with Josh Dairude. If you want to check out that interview I did with Josh, I'll make a link up there or there. Lot to take in, lot to unpack, but hey, that's what we're here for. Much love, much respect for all of you out there. Please tell others about this podcast. I am so grateful for this opportunity, and let's keep it happening. Let's keep going. Let's stay strong. Let's stay safe. Let's respect each other. With that, I'm out of here. Enjoy your Saturday and rest of your weekend. You are loved. You are worthy, and you are enough. Blessings to all of you.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. And remember, you are loved, you are enough, and you are worthy. Blessings to all of you.